wanted to go over a few switches and other brake fittings and stuff like that. I'm primarily a Datsun guy, so you know this stuff all came out of Datsuns. Okay, that's just a union out of the rear circuit on like a 620. It's metric. All it is, it's just a barrel connector basically. It just passes it through from one to the other. But what it is then it mounts to the firewall. So the one coming from the brake line from the master cylinder, it doesn't have to go down underneath the car and everything like that. So the one coming from the car comes up. It's a long piece that comes up and bolts into here. So that way during assembly and stuff like that, the car can have this already hooked to it. And then when the brakes get put in, master cylinder and stuff, they can just hook up to this side. So instead of having to deal with a 8-foot long piece of brake tubing. Now these, I believe this one's out of a 510. Maybe not. Supposedly the one in the 510 is not a pressure regulator of any kind, but you can see this says F and F, and one of these, the other one says R and R. Anyway, the way it jogs through here, and with these caps on here, I'd be willing to bet this is a pressure regulating the rear at some point. So the front comes in, and the pressure that's felt here depends on how much it lets flow through with the arrows, from right to left here. I'm not swearing to any of this. This is all just familiarity and stuff like that. Go take a look and do some research and stuff like that on it yourself. But I wouldn't be surprised if that was a pressure regulator. Now this one is a little different. This could be off a Z-car. This may be the 510 one. I'm not sure, but this switch here is not typically your brake activating switch. It's not the one that turns the brake lights on. What it is between your front circuit and your rear circuit. If there's if it's different, if it shifts too far, so if this side doesn't have any fluid, okay, then the plunger will move over and turn the switch on, and it'll tell you got a problem with your brakes because your pressure differential is dying. This might come from the master cylinder. I'm not sure which. It's not labeled here, and it's been so long since I took it out, I don't remember. But anyway, that's what that is. Okay, now a normal hydraulic switch. This came out of one of the Datsun trucks. Okay, this mounts up to the firewall. One line would come in from the master cylinder, and then it would feed out to both of the fronts, and it would feed out to the rear. Okay, when the master cylinder is pressed and pressure builds up in here, this switch turns on, and this would make continuity through here, and that would turn on your brake lights. Now there's a big delay there, because before you start actually building up any brake pressure, you might have to push your pedal halfway down, especially on an old truck with brake shoes all the way around. They're out of adjustment. So these are not that great. It's far better to replace these, as far as I'm concerned. That's my opinion, kind of thing. You could take this out. You could leave it in as a plug. You could actually get a plug to put in there. You can just get bullet connectors to hook into the wiring, and then run new wiring into the cab to the brake pedal. Okay, and then at the brake pedal, you can get these out of some of the other trucks, later models. And this goes to the brake pedal. Okay, and what it is when it's held closed by the brake pedal swinging back to it, okay, it does not make contact. As soon as you push down the brake pedal, okay, it makes continuity, turns your brake lights on a whole lot faster. So that's part of the reason why, guys who ride their brakes, they just have their foot resting there. If that switch is adjusted pretty sensitive, your brake lights will be on all the time, even though you're not actually dragging your brakes. It's not a good practice, but there's a little homebrew bracket. Basically same kind of switch. You can buy these switches new at the parts store typically. I want to say they're only about $8 or $9 maybe. You can see this one came with spade terminals. This is a factory one, came with bullet terminals. Great upgrade for that. So this might be out of a S10 with ABS. That's why I didn't use it. I used one similar from a non-ABS setup for my wife's 521. Master cylinder feeds in here, and then it feeds out to the kind of a guess here. I want to say this is the front, this is the rear. Okay, and what I'm going off of there is that there's more volume. This line's bigger. More volume typically goes to the calipers instead of the wheel cylinders. Okay, so this would be disc, that'd be the drum. Now, this is a combination valve. Okay, it has a holding valve and a proportioning valve built in, and it's also got your differential pressure switch, or whatever the hell it's called. So, like I was saying before on the other one, if the rear lines bleed down, you run out of fluid, the piston in here will move, it'll turn this on. That will tell you have a problem with the brakes. Okay, this vehicle was new enough that it had one of these switches on the brake pedal. It's not using hydraulic pressure. They just don't kick on fast enough. Now, it also has a hold-off valve in here. The hold-off valve holds off the front brakes until your shoes on the back can expand out and get some grab. And what that does is that helps the vehicle, the truck or whatever, squat. Okay? That way you're not getting brake pressure on your front and nosediving and lifting the ass end up. Well, then all the weight shifts to the front. The back end's light. Now your brakes in the rear grab, well, they'll tend to lock up. So the hold-off valve holds the fronts off until the backs have a chance to grab and start dragging a little bit. Okay, that'll keep it from nosediving and changing the weight balance so drastically. Okay, now it's also got a proportioning valve built in, which means that as you brake on it real hard, it will regulate how much pressure goes to the back brakes so they don't lock up and start sliding around. Okay, these things are a little bit tricky to use. Under this cap, there's a pin down here, and I don't remember the details. Have been years and years, 8 years probably, since I had to mess with one of these. But you either hold it in or pull it out when you're bleeding the system, because when you're bleeding the fronts or the rears, one or the other, and there's no pressure in it kind of thing, it throws the stuff off. So I don't remember if that's exactly the case, but do some research on how to bleed with the combination valve and make sure there isn't some weird thing to do with that. It seems to me I had to. So that's it for that. Good God. Killed another battery, another 7 minutes. This is probably going to be like a 40 friggin' minute video. Alright, hopefully this is the last. I can get on to something else here. So, I've got various connectors and stuff like that here. If you're working with your brake lines, you don't necessarily have to go buy pre-made ones. You can buy raw line. Typically comes in a coil. Typically a pain in the butt to straighten. I want to say CPP. Again, maybe it's them. Might be SSBC, Stainless Steel Brake Company. They have a roller assembly. It's a rather expensive one, but it's great for straightening out the line when you buy it in a coil. For me, you know, I typically don't need one over 5 feet, so it's just easier to get like a 60-footer and cut it off. Well, you'll find that if you're taking a 5-footer and you're making 2 or 3 lines out of it, you don't have enough nuts. It only comes with 2. Okay, so you can go down to most typical parts stores, provided they have anything in the drawers. We went to 3 different car parts stores, and their selection was pathetic because the drawers were all empty. They're either getting pilfered, they're not restocking them. Like Napa said, they're trying to get rid of all this kind of stuff because it's a high-dollar item on their inventory because they've got so many other darn things. They're, you know, anyway, that's their issue. But we had much better luck at the True Value. They had all kinds of stuff. The True Value had these in stock. I bought 10 of them. What it is it's a BLF 29C by AGS. Okay, and what I use this for is, this is so that, for the guys doing my brake kits and that stuff, the SAE hardline, the 3/16ths, this can mount to the factory hardline and then go into the metric brake line out to the caliper. Okay, that's what that's for. So that's why I buy them, rather. That way guys don't have to necessarily reflare the end of their brake line. Okay, and to find these, it's kind of a pain in the butt. You can't find them quickly online, stuff like that. There are some places that sell them. We have a place in town here that sells them. They were like $4 or $5 a piece, but the hardware store has them for like half that. When you're... Where'd my pressure one go? Okay. When you're using this, setting up a brake kit and stuff like that, you're going to end up with an extra line because you're going to feed in with the master cylinder and go out to the 2 fronts. But on a master cylinder upgrade where you go to a dual reservoir, you don't need the rears connected here. So you can also buy these little caps, okay? And it does have the inverted flare end on it there. So it'll actually go in and seal up nice and hard there and not leak. Okay, you can buy those from the hardware store, parts store. as well. You can also get different sizes, so it's kind of hard to tell in the plastic in the video. I don't feel like opening it because I like to keep my part numbers with them and that stuff, but it's basically, it fits 3/16 line, but that is a 1/4 inch fitting, okay? So if I had 1/4 inch line here, this would be the thread that went into it. So on a lot of master cylinders, or yesterday when we were working with the Union on the A100, 3 of the ports were 3/16 this size. One of them was 1/4 inch, okay? So we could have used this nut yesterday, because then we could just use 3/16 line like all the rest and not have to do another adapter, which is basically what we did. We got an adapter that went from 3/16 to 1/4 inch, put that onto the Union, and called it good. These are some other nuts. I think they're 3/16. It might be metric, I'm not positive, but I bought these online somewhere. But you can see just a little bit different styles there. They both fit 3/16 line. That one's a hair loose on there, but it's won't fit 5/16. This is another adapter, but what this does is this takes it from an inverted flare. The cone is coming up out, takes it to a bubble flare. Bubble flare typically used on European, I think. I don't remember offhand. You'd have to double check that. But if you have bubble flare, this will change it up so that you can mount an inverted line to it. You know, so you go down to the hardware store and buy this one to mount up there to get it to mate. Let's see, anything else? There's the nuts. Got generic. I get other brake clips and that stuff. And I got these from Oil Filter Services in Portland. There's another adapter nut there. So you can find this stuff. Some of this stuff you can get from your local parts stores and stuff like that. You can get all of it online. Just have to do some Googling and some researching. And I think that's all the brake stuff anybody can handle for now, including me.